Good morning, Dani. Good morning to everyone tuning in this morning. I hope you are hanging in there, staying positive, and focusing on what you can control, and that you have your cafecito ready to go. My name is Patricia Mota, and I am serving as President and CEO for the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement, a national nonprofit that's working to positively impact workplaces by cultivating the pipeline of Latino talent. And a couple of things I want to mention before we get started today is that ASA stands in solidarity with our Asian American Pacific Islander community members. We hear you and we are with you as we fight against racism, as we fight together against hate. And as we wrap up Women's History Month, happy Equal Pay Day. Although I do want to mention, right, that it takes today for women on average to earn $1, on average earning 82 cents to the dollar. But as many of us know, and I know my guest here as well, it takes for Black women who on average earn 63 cents to the dollar. It's August 3rd for this week, for this year, I should say. Native American women, September 8th, and for Latinas, it's October 21st, meaning it takes up to that date for that woman to earn what a white male counterpart would have earned in 2020. So just a few nuggets there as we get into today. And a warm welcome to our special guest, Dani Jackson, who is Vice President of Brand and Multicultural Marketing, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Edelman. Good morning, Dani.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well today. I'm so happy to have you for various reasons. We've been working with you for some time and have some great things to share with our audience. But first off, as we do with all of our guests, is what's your preferred morning beverage of choice, or how do you like your cafecito or coffee?
So I am a tea girl. So I start my day off with tea. First thing I do is I have a water with lemon. Then I have like a green tea with lemon and ginger and a lot of honey because I like it sweet. And that's how I kick off my day.
A lot of honey. You know, I do the lemon water. I think that's good for you, right? Before that. But then I jump into the coffee right away, which I need to jump and get a better balance with tea because I know, at least, you know, we all know it's healthier for you. So Dani, and those of you tuning in, get your questions ready. Please share with others so that they get to know our awesome guest today. Dani, can you tell us about your background in terms of your professional, but also your own cultural background?
Yeah, so I come from the advertising side of things, majored in advertising with a focus in production. I've always been in production up until 2020 in December. And so I got my career start at Leo Burnett, thanks to the Multicultural Advertising Internship Program. And I officially started full-time working at Leo Burnett in 2010, worked there for 5 years, went to HACE, and all of this is as a producer. At HACE, I was a senior producer, and then transitioned over to Edelman in 2018, January 8th, 2018. After a year of being in a position as a producer at Edelman, I got the opportunity to lean into another passion point, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. As I said, I got my start through a multicultural program, and I was already active in the employee network group, GRIO, and there was an opportunity to become the Chicago DEI steward. I took that on, and that opened me up to a variety of additional possibilities that led to this position. In 2020, I stepped into the role of VP of Multicultural Brand, as well as continuing to be a DEI leader for clients as well as internally. So very excited for this new phase of my career, and glad that I've been able to, within the same place, right, within Edelman, tap into my love for production and transition that into my passion for people from a multicultural standpoint.
Well, congratulations again on that. I think that speaks volumes in terms of your leadership, but also having had a chance to work with you and definitely have a passion ensuring that we're building inclusive environments and workspaces. And so that being said, one of the things that we're asking our guests is around the theme that ASE has put forth this year, which is we lead at the intersection of identity, equity, unity. Identity, I think, is so critical in terms of really embracing the intersectional identities that we as individual beings bring to the workplace, right? And the equity piece is not only the structures in terms of what companies should be doing to ensure that there are no barriers to entry, but even to advancement. But also as an individual, how are we advocating for ourselves and holding ourselves accountable and speaking up, right? And the unity piece around allyship, supporting, bless you, I see you sneezing, supporting communities. So Dani, what does that mean for you and when this theme, and can you share specific examples as to why your work is critical?
Yeah, I love this theme. First of all, I think it is critical to lead at that intersection of identity, equity, and unity, because ultimately we are more alike than we are different. A lot of the issues that we're looking at, especially between 2020 and what we're experiencing now in the API communities, it's not new. It is overflow of systemic racism for hundreds of years. And the intersection of identity, equity, and unity allows us to not get into spaces of like trauma battles, right? Whose trauma was the worst, or, I think a lot of that is comes from a thinking of scarcity, right? Like there's not enough goodness, not enough opportunity for all of us to excel, but there is an abundance. There is an abundance of life. There's an abundance of love, opportunity. And essentially those are the things that fuel people. We're not just talking about, this is not just a Asian issue, a Black issue, a Latinx issue. These are human rights issues a lot of the times, right? It's not just a gender issue or social, sexual orientation issue. People want to have the freedom to live their lives in the most fulfilling ways possible. And when we get into like identity, it allows us to have showcase our uniqueness, right? We can be unique and still have that commonality of being human, right? It doesn't strip away who you are. Equity, ensuring that we have equitable opportunities, right? We're not giving everyone the same size shoe and hoping that we can run the race. We're identifying that each one of us, depending on our backgrounds and depending on how systemic racism or systemic injustices have impacted us, may need different opportunities or different leveling, different levelers, let's say that, right? And then the unity is key because we only really impact change together. If any one of us stands to the side while there is injustice occurring, we fuel that injustice with our silence. And so, that's why I think that what we're doing is truly critical, not just for us where we are today, but for the future.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. And those of you tuning in, please share, whether it's comments or ask any questions regarding this particular theme, or even sharing what it means to you. And, we want to be able to share with others and get them involved in this conversation. I think it's so critical. You said a lot of great things, Dani, but the part is about meeting individuals where they are, right? Like the shoe, like we have to ensure I think that's critical for everything, and that it is a humanity issue, right? At the end of the day, everyone wants to feel included, and we want to be able to unite on that as well. One of the things, Dani, is we're so proud to have you as one of our alums from our Emerging Leaders program, which was formerly the Leadership Academy when you graduated from it. But one of the things that I love even more so with our alumni is, ASA always says we're Latino serving, but we're not Latino exclusive organization, right? We embrace everyone to be part of our program. But one of the things that you did was then help come back in partnership with one of our partners at Barilla and propose the idea of doing a multicultural leadership program, right? And we had this conversation, and now they're getting ready to graduate. So we can, as one of the founders of the Multicultural Leadership Program, why do you think spaces like these that are culturally relevant, so critical to ensure that we're advancing diverse talent, whether it's women, whether, it's this specific cohort, which is focused on Latinx, Black, and Asian. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's key to be able, you hear people say, bring your full self to work. Mm-hmm. And for so long, most people haven't felt the space, even if you're not, quote unquote, diverse, right? Ethnically diverse. Studies show that there are even, white men that don't feel that they can bring their full self to work, right? And so that is compiled when you are ethnically diverse, because how traditional corporate America is shaped is really from a white male lens, oftentimes. And so I thought it was really key to lean into, like, really an extension of the leadership program you guys already have in place or had in place, into this multicultural leadership program, to allow people to really flourish and understand, like, oh, this is what my culture looks like at work. This is what it looks like when I offer the learnings and knowledge that I got, maybe from home, maybe with my grandma, maybe with traditions that we specifically have within our culture. This is what it looks like to bring that forward. Because we've all watched, a billion maybe corporate shows. When I was a kid, I used to like walk around with like a stapler and paper and just like act like I was like working at an office. So we have like an understanding of what we think it means to be corporate or professional. And that goes from your hair to the clothes you wear, to the colors that you feel that you're able to wear at work, to just the entire environment. And so it is a practice, and our culture and what makes us unique is an asset. It is what makes us who we are, and it makes us better at our jobs, and we shouldn't hide that. And so anyway, I thought that it was a great time to just extend the offerings that ASE was already doing. Like you said, I had a great time in my cohort, and I felt embraced, and I felt like I could understand every pinpoint that was brought up in the class, from, just even the way that being ethnically diverse may impact the way I see leadership, right? And being able to speak up and not, sometimes we come from households where people say, well, don't make a ruckus, just go with the flow, being able to even challenge those ideas within myself, to say, I understand that and I respect that, and I respect my elders so much, but in this environment, in order to grow, I need to think a little bit differently about what that looks like in my career journey. And that does mean that I need to speak up and rock the boat a little bit. So yes, I was excited to bring that to our entire Edelman office, right? So we have employee network groups, GRIO, Boundless, which GRIO is for our African-American employees and allies, Inclusivo, Boundless. We have just an amazing group of people. And we this year wanted to focus on ethnic diversity as a starting point, but we understand that there's diversity even within that diversity. So.
Exactly. That's great. Thank you for the comment, Edgar. In terms of, you can't give everyone the same shoe and expect them to run the race. Yes, each person is unique, and that's on that equity piece that Dani mentioned earlier. So Dani, I think, I also want to congratulate you, right? Is you and really co-founding this cohort with Barilla we're recognizing both Edelman and Barilla as our corporate champions of the year for being able to take initiative and support this. We're looking forward again to the graduation tomorrow evening and be able to recognize and celebrate. So those of you that, folks tuning in, please, we'll take a question or two. So we'll wait for that to pop up if there are any questions. But while we do that, Dani, any tips for those that are learning to lead authentically within, a corporate space, or any advice that you have for an individual that's tuning in right now?
Yeah, I would say this sounds corny, but I definitely would say trust your gut. Like a lot of times our best instincts are those gut instincts where you step into a room and you know your job, you know your craft, you know what you bring to the table. Trust it, lean into it, rather than making excuses. Sometimes I would make excuses not to shine, right? And so I would say trust your gut and get a strong board of directors, meaning a personal board of directors. I tend to have folks that are older than me, younger than me, of diverse backgrounds, where I can bounce ideas off of, just to ensure, sometimes for me, that I'm going in the right direction or that I'm challenging myself enough. And those are the people that make me stronger, So like Lilia Flores, who was on the board for HACE, is one of those people that has been on my personal board of directors. And many others, like Quadri Holmes from Curiosity Productions. It's that diverse group of people that when you're ready to be small, they push you to be big.
So trust your gut and have your own personal board of advisors or directors, right? That are constantly pushing you. And that helps too, because one thing that we hear a lot with women is the concept with imposter syndrome. And I think that's one definite way is to combat that, right? Whether, I know it's controversial, whether you believe it or not, but definitely have your personal board of directors. Thank you, Angel. So one last question for you, and thank you everyone for it looks like no questions, but a lot of comments coming in. Dani, we talked a lot about, your background, in terms of, what recommendations you have for folks. How about, what are you most hopeful for, or a positive story that you want to share that gives you hope for this year?
What gives me hope for this year? I am inspired by people. I am inspired by the way that we're holding not only companies accountable, but each other accountable to living out what we think diversity, equity, and inclusion is, right? To making a real impact. So in the midst of all of the trauma and all of the pain that we are feeling, from police brutality, racism, pay inequities, all of these things, they become traumatic, and they are in our space. I am still inspired by people because we have the power to enact change. And every time a company makes a commitment, it gives us the opportunity to hold that company accountable, because the company is made up of other people, right?
Yeah.
That have the opportunity to make change and impact. So that keeps me inspired, because we're not talking to ourselves. Like, this is a conversation where we're talking to each other. We're not from the exact same backgrounds. We're creating space for change, and we're actually implementing policies or leadership development tools. Like, we're creating great pathways for the future. So that keeps me inspired.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Dani. You talked, I think at the end of the day is the accountability piece, right? What you mentioned in terms of the corporate, they're making commitments, but it is up to us as individuals, as organizations, the affinity groups that we represent, to hold one another and these organizations accountable. And so I think never forget about the power of one. I think sometimes we think that as an individual we don't have that much power, but our voices do have a lot of power, and we want to make sure that we're utilizing them. So Dani, thank you so much. Thank you for those tuning in. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the graduation for the first inaugural multicultural leadership cohort. It has just, I've heard so many great things. I've been in some of these sessions, and thank you for being a catalyst for that. And look forward to also recognizing you during our annual summit. So thank you, Dani. Thank you to everyone tuning in. Hasta la próxima. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.